healing power, your mercy, and your grace. And in your precious name we humbly pray and give thanks. Amen. Amen. If we want to be lifted up from this world in which we have fallen in love with, I stopped by for this extended period of time today to let you know that you have the means to be released from this world in which we have fallen in love with, if we will courageously face, watch this now, if you and I and others will courageously face the fact that we have sinned, that we have fallen in love with the world, and that we have forgotten our first love, the love of our Creator, who created all things, who have been there with us, never leaving us, never forsaking us. If we are courageous enough to face the sins, the sufferings, the trials and tribulation that we are dealing with as a people, especially the people of color, especially the descendants of slaves, especially the Jewish population that suffered under the Nazi regimes, especially the original, at least the native folks in this land that were destroyed and forced off of their land. If we would courageously face what we're going through, not what we went through, but what we are going through, present day time, then if we'll face it, and if we will ask the Most High to hear our pleas, to hear our prayers, He will indeed, the Most High, will lift us up on eagle's wings and hold us in the palm of God's hands. If we must courageously confess that we fell victim to the very ones who victimized us, to the slaves, my ancestors, the ones who snatched you up, brought you across in the belly of boats, laying in your own feces and waste, with not enough food to feed you, and threw you overboard. You, the Jewish descendants, your ancestors who were loaded in animal boxcars, sent to these death camps and placed in the gas chambers and thrown you in open ditches as your final burying place. We, the descendants of the slaves in America, thrown overboard. Your final place of rest was in the ocean. And we came over here to this land that was stolen. Let me say it again, stolen. And yet, we know that it was stolen. And yet, we take possession of stolen goods and say, well, I thank you. But you know what? You don't own a thing here. You don't own a thing in this land called the United States of America. You own nothing. It was stolen. And you're just squatters on it. You're squatters. You don't own a thing. You may think you do, but you're paying taxes. But when you die, if your descendants don't pay the taxes, it'll be taken away because it's not theirs. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Virginia, you don't own the land. You only own the dwellings on top of that land. You don't own a thing. You're one who sat in your living room, looked out your big plate glass windows, and saw someone in your neighbor's home robbing it. And running outside with a big widescreen TV, put it in the back of a car. You recognize them. You recognize the car. And they drove away. And yet, you don't want to get involved. I know nothing. And then one day, that same vehicle with those same thieves drive up to your home, knock on your door, and say, "Man, mister, would you like to have a big widescreen TV? We got extras, and we're selling them at a real reasonable price today. Would you be interested?" "Yeah, how much is that?" "We're selling them for $50. "Oh, yes, I'll take one." You know it's the same TV that was taken out of your neighbor's home, and you buy it. Now, you know what? You're just as much a part of that crime as the ones who committed it. You're complicit to that theft. And so it is. On this land, we're no better than the ones who stole it. We're the ones who, back in the days of the Civil War, the slaves, the Uncle Toms would say, "Oh, massa, the Yankees is coming. They's coming to steal us plantation." You don't own no darn plantation, dummies. And we got many Uncle Toms today. I could name them off. But for the sake of this podcast, I won't. I'll be respectful of the living and even those who've died. Uncle Toms, Auntie Mammies, and other complacent Negroes and colored folks. Yes, if I sound a little angry in my voice, I am angry. Because, we're all suffering because of the ignorance of those who know better. That's the blacks, the Jews, the Orientals, all nations that suffered under the hands of tyrants, like the one that we think we've gotten rid of, but he's not going away. That creature's not going away. And yet we still shed our blood, our love, our homage to the creature that stole it. And we're complicit with it. I'm going to be, for the sake of time, while it's tempting for me to go on, yes, that's my time, I'm trying to avoid expressing the pain in your lives today because we've got so much going on. So if you're able to deny it and suppress it, the pain that affects you, no matter what I may say, you might as well face it head on, where you can deal with it at its best. In other words, it's not for me to tell you what not to do. It's for me to tell you what is. And what it is, it is. You govern yourself accordingly to your belief, to your faith, to your love of God. A disbelief in God, if an agnostic you may be. But all I can say is that it's a terrible pain to even try to fall asleep at night. When you're going through so much pain, your mind is just racing about, trying to figure out what to do with yourselves. How are we going to survive? Is this all that there is? Will there be no more? Is this the end of it for us? Is this all that there is? Will I never see my families again? Will we never be able to fellowship again in our weekly or daily places of worship? Yeah, these things are on your mind. You can't help but have them on your mind. You're human. And you're affected by the genetic markers that are all around you in your environment. And ultimately, after this experience, it will become a part of our DNA. You talk about post-traumatic stress. Well, it won't be post-traumatic. It'll be present traumatic stress on every one of us. And ultimately, it will develop into bipolarism, tripolarism, quadpolarism, or whatever schisms that we may eventually end up with as a nation. You know why? Because we are going to be punished. There are consequences for every crime that we commit. And as long as we continue to be complicit,